Yeah, I think we're just about good to go here. We got the recordings running. Craig is there. Just don't look at him, and everything should be fine.
Great. We will shun Craig.
What the fuck's going on down there?
Hold on one second. Just so you know, we recorded this podcast thinking that the cards we're talking about unfolded from full-size character cards into 5x7 massive planks, and they don't. They're a 3x5 character card that folds in half. So when we talk about sleeving and everything, me and Aaron completely misunderstood. Have fun listening to that.
What the fuck's going on down there?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another WTF at TCG at TFW podcast. It's me and Aaron again, because me and Aaron are the ones playing the game. Hi, Aaron.
Hey, Chris. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good winning all the time. I'll just throw it out there.
You haven't played me.
Here in Toronto, at least.
Because nobody still has cards yet there?
No, one other person does. And granted, he's beaten me about as many times as I beat him. But the last time we played, I got him. We're also joined once again by Drew Nolosco. Hello, Drew.
Hi. How's it going?
Oh, it's going pretty solid over here. I hope things are going well over there on the west.
Oh, it is. We're doing spectacularly here.
All right. Because I got a feeling that you're not. I have this sense as a podcast host that you're not alone in that room.
No, with me is the voice and face and words behind Transformers social media, the Transformers TCG social media and PR manager, John Schork.
Hello.
John Schork, Twitter.com/Transformers TCG's own John Schork.
The very same. The only.
The one and only of Instagram.com/Transformers TCG's own John Schork.
Yep. There's a reason they only made one of them.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to our fun little thing we do where we talk about cards.
It is super, super nice to be back on the show. Thank you.
Oh, it's great to have you on. I was watching all of your talking that happened at PAX Unplugged, and wishing I could have made it over. But it looks like it was a fun event.
It was a super fun event. We had a blast there. There was a really good community there. I thought there was some really interesting community conventional wisdom busting events happened there, like Metroplex going 4-1 in a constructed event.
Yeah.
That made me so happy.
I know. I was really happy about that. It was a really smartly piloted deck. The tweaks that made to the deck were really, really, really good and well thought out. So it was super fun. Watching double primes do really well, breaking the convention of two bots don't work in competitive. That was fun too.
I think Metroplex, like double primes, it was nice to see it proven. But I think having Metroplex then do that 4-1, like what is it, the day after?
Yeah.
Was I think a perfect coda to that. It felt like it kind of stunted the call that, okay, double primes is the deck,
Right.
like right away. And it also helped, I think, prop up the Metroplex deck a lot. Because the initial reaction anyone has to something like that is like, well, is this just the gimmick deck or not? And it's like, no, it placed real well at the first actual, major event that the game was at. But that's not what we're necessarily here to talk about on this recording. I'll say for the record that we're recording before you all are hearing this. I mean, we always are.
Yeah,
but
that's how podcasts work.
A long time before. We're recording a while before. So when you're hearing this, you probably, I'm guessing, will have seen what we're talking about. There's a whole timing thing we're going to go for here. I'm going to introduce this by introducing my reaction to this. So me and Aaron got to glimpse something.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about Wave 2 of the TCG. And I saw the name of Wave 2, and I started to laugh very loud, like a madman.
Yeah, so I was getting those text messages of just like, "Mwah, ha, ha, ha," and I was not able to view it yet.
And then I saw something else and started to cackle like a madman for probably 5 minutes straight.
And then lightning crashed in the background. Waves crashed on the beach. The world turned upside down.
A moment. I was getting a little worried because usually when I say I'm doing that, I'm typing that I'm doing it. But in this case, I was doing it. So Drew, what's the name of? Tell us about Wave 2 of the Transformers TCG.
Wave 2 of the Transformers TCG is Rise of the Combiners. And
Combiners.
The Combiners. And we remember I've been making like talking about future things, right? Like cool card technology. And so we decided to implement combiners in a really interesting way. And you know what? I could talk about it a lot, but I just want to hear your reactions to what you saw.
So I think I actually got to see it first after I was able to like get home and get PowerPoint convinced that no, I actually did own a license, and just was talking with Chris, and he was like, okay, that's cool, but in the PowerPoint there was an embedded video showing the method of how it works. Of these are, I think in Duel Masters they call them like triple-sided cards.
That's correct.
Where there's like your bot mode and alt mode, but then it's actually the card is like folded in half, and you can open that up, and then there's another image inside of that, and you get 5 of them, and it makes a combiner like combiners do.
And I did some measurements, and so the whole thing of actually combining the cards is a delightful thing. That I know has come up in conversations with other players where we were just sort of batting ideas around, and that was the one that a lot of people would just straight up say, well, that's impossible. That's never going to happen. That's part of why I was cackling, was I just saw a bunch of things people said A, was either never going to happen, or B, was probably not going to happen until 2020. All just sort of happening in this one video clip. And then I did some measurements, and like a combined Predaking on the table is something like 14 by 17 inches or something like that.
He's huge.
It's hilarious. I love it. It's gigantic. Metroplex has this one thing that's physically very impressive about him, and then here come the combiners to go like, but also we can get bigger.
So for everybody at home who may not have seen, or if you haven't seen any of the visuals, triple-sided cards means that the card has a hinge in the center, and it opens and closes like the pages of a book. So the combiner characters start folded in half, and there's a joint there. So this is a natural fold in the card in their alt mode, just like any other character. And you can flip it to its other side, and on its other side is its bot mode. And they have alt and bot mode, so they perform just and work in the game just like regular characters. And you can play them by themselves, like you don't have to play the full team. They have a star cost individually. And then when you succeed in combining, and I think we'll talk about that in a bit, when you succeed in combining, you open them up, and it reveals the part of the combiner character that was hidden. So, you've seen the Predacons, and so, Torox opens up, and he is now part of Predaking. And then you meld them together in play, and you've got this gigantic, and as you're pointing out, this absolutely gigantic Predaking.
Yeah, it's enormous, and I mean, I'm not sure if people listening are going to necessarily see the stuff in motion as we saw, in the promo material, but there was a moment you somehow captured, like, I always call it like the magic of gatai, like the Japanese word for, that's often used when robots are combining in stock footage sequences I like. And the energy of it was happening with just like these 5 cards that I know are fairly large, all unfolding and kind of docking together into I recognized it as it's a very recent piece of art for Predaking that was done for the Power of the Primes toy, and it's an intense piece of artwork.
Yeah,
it was. I was just sitting there like, well, they did it. Wait, now it makes sense. I heard in the interviews from PAX Unplugged, I heard you were saying, oh yeah, there will be a Decepticon on the booster pack art for Wave 2, and then also, Soundwave's going to be in 2019 a couple times, but not necessarily in Wave 2, and I see why now. Right. That all makes sense.
Right. So that Predaking being 5 character cards big, like we one of the tests that we did that was a really critical test for it is, how do you tap this thing? And the answer is,
how do you tap that thing?
Okay, so
just like hands down in the middle of it and turn your body 90 degrees.
So first, hold up your hand. If you're left-handed, hold up your left hand. If you're right, then spread all your fingers as far as you can go, and then plop it down in the center of the character card. So you have contact with all 5 of those character cards, and then rotate in the clockwise direction 90 degrees. That's how
then
you tap one.
And you push your arm forward, so you also just wipe out your opponent's board and say, "Oh, sorry about that. You shouldn't have let me combine."
So you realize how many neuroses this is now going to cause Chris with his mandatory triple sleeving of every card.
I have questions about sleeving. I didn't want to throw those out right away. I've been trying to logic it out. If there were, say, side loading 3.5 by 5 sleeves, for instance, did you guys send this over to Ultra Pro, and did they just sort of send you back an email that was a big skull image or something?
So the folded in half combiners will fit into a smaller sleeve, right?
Right.
It's a little bit of a snug fit, depending if you get the really tight sleeves.
Yeah.
But honestly, you are going to have to take them out and put them in a larger
your precious
sleeve.
cards will have to get dirty, Chris.
No, I'll figure something out. I'm industrious.
You just gotta start making those special melty sleeves. They're extra stretchy.
Yeah, I'll get some of that low durometer stuff going on.
I just see you with a roll of saran wrap as you're opening cards.
Well, now I have a reason to collect 2 sets, so I can then laminate a combined Predaking to just pull out of my bag.
So I don't know if you guys have heard this, but someone in the community was talking about how to protect Metroplex, and did you see the large screw lucite?
Yes.
Okay, John did that, and it's sitting on his desk.
Nice.
I have a magnetic version of one of those things on my wish list on Amazon. I haven't pulled the trigger, but I've been looking at it because it seems like a thing to do.
Feels good, man.
Yeah, I ended up with a top loader that's probably has about a ½ inch around the whole thing, and that's what my Metroplex lives in, just for safety's sake.
I wanted to say one of the other things about this that I was already liking from the bullet points that were made available to me and Aaron is also that the Combiner team members are going to be approximately 1 in 2 boosters, and I noticed that the Predacons are uncommons, so assembling a Combiner doesn't seem like it's also going to be a case of chasing down a huge number of rares.
So each Combiner team, the rarity of the characters in that team are the same. So
Okay.
that's why all the Predacons, for example, are uncommon. So that means that there are easier to acquire and find Combiner teams, and then there are a couple that are more difficult, but there's no super rare pieces in a Combiner team, so
Okay.
you're never gonna be like, oh, I have 4 sets of arms and legs and 0 heads and bodies.
Yeah, that would be no fun.
That's just such a feel bad that we immediately discounted that as a way to collate these.
Excellent to hear.
So no super rare torsos, like when you were a kid and you had 4 limbs, but you couldn't afford the body?
No, none of that. That's right out.
Yeah, we all still have those mental scars.
It does mean that some of the combiners that you're going to be able to get combiners pretty rapidly, especially for those who buy a box or a case. You're going to just get teams.
Oh, and same rarity is also real nice for avoiding another version of the situation you guys were just talking about of if Razor Claw was a rare and then the 4 limbs were uncommon, that would make for also. I'm guessing that by all having the same rarity that in the big picture approximately means there shouldn't be too many orphan combiner cards if somehow every single printed card was acquired.
Correct.
Not saying anyone's going to do that. Maybe I'm putting the challenge out there, but I'm not saying anyone's going to do that.
I'm not going to dissuade anyone from rising to your challenge there.
We can neither.
I'm putting the cheese on the string.
Yeah, and that was really important to us, guys. There you can imagine many ways to collect combiners, but if it was really important for the team for players to rapidly be able to get their hands on a combiner team, and for a variety of reasons. 1, because we want people to be able to play with them. 2, because we want people to see what they are and be able to actually, have those really cool moments that you were talking about of seeing them combine and feeling them combine and do it. And 3, we just don't like feel bads.
Yeah. I mean, you can go back to Wave 1, having basically 90% of what one could call the core cards be commons and uncommons, basically. You don't buy a booster of this game and feel like, all right, guess I got to get a second one to actually make a deck. It's a very friendly game. That's how I've been presenting it to folks.
That's what we were aiming for. We didn't want it to be any of the barriers to entry to be insurmountable, because that's just it's no fun. And this game is supposed to be fun at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, speaking of fun, me and Aaron have been having some fun talking about that Predaking or Predacon Enigma card. That answers the question of how combination happens. It looks like it's an action card that you're hoping to pull, and I like the mechanics on it a lot. In that you don't have to preserve all of your characters' consciousness. Like some of them can be KO'd, with the balance point being Predaking inherits all the damage. And I was tickled when I noticed that unless I miscounted, the Predacon's full health points add up to 36, and Predaking's health count is 37. It seems like Predaking could be like a last-ditch swing the game sort of thing.
And you'll also notice that if you take a look at the star counts,
Yeah.
you'll notice a correlation between the team and the star counts on the combined character.
Right. Because each of them is 5 star, so it's 5 times 5 is 25. I'm an engineer.
Math is strong.
I am noticing the 10-10-5. Is there a specific reason for that over just a 25?
2 digits was 10 is a narrower number in typeface than 25 is. Just to be really honest about it.
Okay.
Okay.
That makes a lot of sense.
10 looks nice in there and is a readable font size, whereas 25 it's squishy, right? Because it's big round number, like physically round digits.
Yeah. Well, there was one other thing about that Enigma card that me and Aaron had a big question about. We've been talking about since the other night. That pip on that card doesn't look like any pip I've seen before.
It does not. It does not look like any pip that you've seen before. So the green pip is one of the new game mechanics in Rise of the Combiners. And the green pip, when you flip a green pip, it doesn't add to your defense or your attack, or it's not like a white pip that lets you flip more. It does something entirely new. At the end of combat, you can discard a card in your hand to put a green pip card that was flipped in combat in your hand.
Huh.
Okay.
That seems like I had a question about whether anything in Wave 2 could even feasibly be a reaction to some of the gameplay from Wave 1, but that seems like a balancing point to Rare Optimus in a way, or at least it makes Rare Optimus not the one singular way to execute interacting with the flipped cards.
Yes, it adds another way to interact with flipped cards. And the reason it's on all the Enigmas is so that you have a very, very reasonable chance multiple times in the game of getting an Enigma card into your hand when you need an Enigma card.
I mean, that also leads to one other natural question. Is there a mechanic to decombine, or is combination a one-way road right now?
Well, the mechanic to decombine is you tap your combiner character, win the game, and then your team decombines when you set up for the next game.
That sounds pretty simple. Okay.
So one of the things that we worked on a lot for Rise of the Combiners with combiners is how difficult should it be to combine, right? And so one of the things that you have to do is you have to get all your characters on the team into alt mode, and you can flip characters that are in the KO pile. That's one of the new rules updates. So if a character is KO'd, you can choose to flip it in your KO pile. And so you get all your characters into bot mode, and then play the Enigma, and then you're able to combine. And one of the things that we were working on is how frequently should people be able to achieve combination, and how powerful an upgrade to the gameplay should that be. So it is not a trivial thing to combine. You have to do some work. And if you're building a combiner deck, you're probably going to want to put cards in there that help you achieve combination, like cards that let you flip modes, cards that let you help guarantee, even on top of the green pips, guarantee that you're going to get the combiner Enigma in your hand when you need it.
Right.
But it's not by any means impossible. And that was, we think we found a really nice spot.
The thing I was kind of way into was that, at least as I'm seeing it right now, combination seems like a risk reward in that you're becoming big, but you're not becoming game winning big. it seems like there's a reason you might want to pull, the combination as quickly as possible. It seems like there might be a reason to want to hold on to it as a last ditch thing, since like the Predacons themselves have a bunch of mechanics, including some new ones. So I like the idea of a combiner deck not really being like a one road, one win con kind of deck. That's kind of what I'm hopeful for once the stuff is out and I can start playtesting it with my local folks. Because I it's kind of cool if it was, I got my combiner together, now I win. But I also like the idea that like I got my combiner together because that's my current game plan, and that the person facing that is not just stuck going like, I guess I should have brought one to the table too.
Well, and it's a two-way street too, because we also don't want everybody to spend the entire game only racing towards getting their combiner assembled. That shouldn't necessarily be the only path to victory as well. So we wanted to make sure it was as open and balanced as we think the rest of the game has been so far too.
Yeah,
because that was something that like we were talking about, like seeing Headstrong with his new mechanic of Brave, where he's always the first target in his alt mode. That's maybe like if you can get him defensed up, because a lot of the tank decks have been running a lot of blue. Maybe if you build it that way, maybe he survives a little bit longer to pull, but you're still having to thread that needle, and he may end up with one of the crazy Optimus Prime. What was it? Somebody had like 12 natural.
Yeah.
Damn it, that's potentially some hard targets real quick that you're going to have to race against.
There's another really interesting, somewhat non-intuitive effect of combiners on the metagame, which is... So you notice that when you're reading the active combination, you pull all the damage on all of the team members onto the combiner when he's formed into a character.
Right.
By the way, otherwise, we did test it. If they just came into play with, we rapidly moved away from the combiner has no damage. The Gestalt form has no damage on it. So, but a character in your KO zone, the damage that they contribute when you combine is equal to their health. They've been fully damaged, right? Which means that overkill damage is wasted effort against a combiner team, right? So let's say you do 32 points of damage to a combiner team member that had 8 health left. Well, when that team combines, it's not like that 32 points of damage that you did is going to be useful work that team has done, because he's contributing the 8 damage that that is his health into the combiner mode. So playing against combiners asks the opponent to spread damage around a little more. So teams that are built to do gigantic one-shot effects are less effective than teams that can spread damage in slower chunks.
I also immediately noticed that the way that the combiner pulls in the damage, that suddenly makes more valuable a lot of the group heal type cards.
Yes.
Where those are now doing like you could be healing Predaking potentially, the turn before he forms, for like 5 damage, which is otherwise kind of unheard of.
Yes. Exactly. It Rise of the Combiners is really going to ask players to reevaluate their cards and the rest of the cards in the Rise of the Combiners booster set, because of the kind of new and interesting effects, as you just noted. And that was one of the other ones I was going to talk about that this brings to the table. One interesting thing that I'm gonna tease is that although all of the Combiner teams basically combine the same way, get all the characters in the team into alt mode, and then play an Enigma of Combination action card, they all have a kind of interesting, unique flavor that's specific to their team. And as you see more of the Combiner teams released or spoiled from the set, I think it's going to be interesting watching, to see how we have implemented combination. So it's all one basic game mechanic that has some very team-specific implementations.
I was curious about how much of what I was seeing just on Predaking was kind of global versus how much of it was maybe, like you were saying, flavored towards the Predacons. Actually, this is a very quick aside, but the new mechanic of being able to flip in the KO pile, which also I think is huge for Cliffjumper, who's my little boy. This seems kind of logical, but I may as well ask it. If someone flips in the KO pile, their flip actions aren't happening, right? Because they are KO'd.
That's
for
correct.
The most part.
That's correct. You're just changing the mode that they're in. They're not actually in play and able to affect the game in the battlefield.
Okay. That's still great though for actually that's great for I Still Function as well. Mm-hmm. Like now you're not necessarily having to plan their KO state before it happens. Like you're able to take a turn to tweak it. So obviously we're gonna have more spoilers coming. The Predaking is one of the combiners. This is one of those questions I'm pretty sure we can't get the answer to without asking, like, literally, okay, I'm not going to say who all the combiners are, but is there, like, a rough number we should be thinking of?
There's 5 combiner teams.
Whoa, okay. That's a lot. Are they... Okay, actually, this is a bit specific. You don't have to answer this. Are they all 5-member teams?
No, they're not. They are accurate to the number of members in the team for the toy. I think one of the most interesting combiner teams is one that does not add up to 25 points. And so you and you can add in another character to that. And just a regular non-combiner character, which allows you to build that particular combiner team's deck and play style differently depending on which additional character you have on the team.
That's super cool. I was wondering about, that was one of those things I would have assumed would have been like a later wave thing to have a combiner team that doesn't, take up your entire team. All right, I'm super interested now. I'm looking forward to seeing some of this.
Yeah.
And, there are lots of combiners, especially after the Combiner Wars toy line added in a whole bunch. So we clearly couldn't fit them all. So yeah. There are a bunch of favorite combiners in there. There's 1 or 2 that I think people are going to be excited by because they were unexpected combiners. And then when everybody sees them all, they're going to know there's still more cool stuff for the future.
I was immediately thinking of some of the more obscure ones. Again, without asking for names, your guys, like you'd mentioned in an interview at PAX Unplugged that characters like Dark Mountain Flame War were supposed to sort of indicate, like, right away we are going to do stuff outside of the spotlit, banner characters. Is that happening in Wave 2 with combiners, or are you sort of sticking to the more, like we see them and we know who they are right away kind of combiners?
I would say that there's 2 combiners that casual fans may not recognize.
Oh boy! All right. I don't know if I don't want to jinx it, because there was one combiner when I saw this mechanic. There was a combiner I thought of immediately as one that probably isn't Wave 2, but would be really interesting to see in this game with this mechanic here now.
Who was it?
Oh, it was Road Caesar. Oh, he's 3 cars.
No, Road Caesar is not in this set.
I didn't think he would be, but I don't know if you guys know Road Caesar super well, but if you take a look at how he works, he seems that and being a car combiner made of 3 members. I was immediately thinking, like, as a future thing, that could be an interesting thing to hypothesize about. At
least one combiner in this set has at least one member whose alt mode is a car.
I immediately am thinking of 3 different combiners. So
yeah. And I'm not going to give you any more confirmation than that.
No worries. This mechanic is like Metroplex showed up with that deployment mechanic and immediately shook the game a lot harder than I was expecting out of something like pre-Wave 2. And when I say shake, I mean, like, it's not like, we're reinventing the game from the ground up, but, like, adding in something that does make everyone, like you were saying, like, pause and rethink how they think the game is supposed to be played. Metroplex brings the deployment, Titans, and 4-star characters. This whole combiner thing, especially knowing that one of the combiners does not occupy 25 stars, that also seems huge. It seems like Wave 2 is going to be real fun for deck brewing. One immediate, like, kind of non-combiner question, kind of bouncing off Metroplex. Is this Wave 1 where we're going to also see some sub-5-star characters?
Oh, that's a good question. So remember when we talked a long time ago about how far I am in the future?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am not going to misspeak. I'm actually going to go look through the file right now before I verify that.
Yeah, no worries.
There are a bunch of 5-star characters, as you might guess.
Yeah, yeah. Which is also great because I mean, Metroplex already like any character that's under 6 stars feels like they just open up team building a lot more inherently. Granted, partly because the game is so young. So already thinking about the Predacons as individuals as well for team build stuff. Like, they got a specialist in there, we got a leader in there.
Exactly. There's a lot of the characters who are members of combiner teams have usefulness in already established decks that are just completely outside of their nature as a combiner team member. So there's really just two. There's a bunch of layers in this set, but two of the big ones are playing combiners, and you have a lot more character options for teams and decks from Wave 1.
And that's kind of part of the fun of being at this early a stage in this new game, especially in a game where, we've kind of set out to do things differently and to come up with new exciting things, is that we do have the opportunity to shake things up and keep changing the nature of play and kind of push things forward with whether it's a new ancillary product or if it's a new wave entirely. So it's something that we're really happy to see. That's what we were looking for when Metroplex came out, was people, their reactions to see whether or not it was pushing them to sort of think about the game in a new way.
Yeah.
So I almost feel like I have to ask, have you guys looked at stuff that you want to put in like Wave 2 now, but you're like, no, let's push that to Wave 3 so that we can further play with the way that the meta builds, because that might tip a look into the next thing?
It was mostly just we were looking really hard at Road Caesar, and we said, let's push that out to
Yeah, no, I had a feeling. Chris never gets what he wants.
But you feel seen, don't you?
And after we made that decision, we realized that it would be really important to have Road Caesar and Lio Kaiser in the same set, so people would have to have the arguments online about how you pronounce their names, and we could get the Caesar and the Kaiser factions really just angry at each other.
Oh, yes. Excellent. All right, I'm down for this. You guys did me a solid. I feel good.
To answer your question, I will say that there are a lot of 5-star characters in this set.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. And especially knowing that at least one of them is a car. That goes with my weird little ulterior motive I always had of opening up the car decks even more. There are already plenty of cars, but little cars, they kind of get me excited too. So yeah, the combiner thing is obviously the feature of this. And I got the feeling, like I was mentioning earlier, that a character like Soundwave or someone else who might have a unique mechanic, the presence of combiners seems like it would say that any non-combiner characters in this are probably going to be, interesting, but not introducing entirely new mechanics in and of themselves.
No.
That's what I'm kind of assuming.
Nope. We've got some really cool stuff on the non-combiner characters also.
Oh boy. Well, I mean, I already saw these 2 new keywords. Just in case people are just tuning in and hearing all this here, there's one called Brave, which is enemies have to attack this character if able, which kind of feels like it's not quite heroism, but it's also baked in.
So like Brave, for example, if you are the second player and all your characters are untapped and one of them has Brave, your opponent has to attack the Brave character. As an example of how Brave works.
And that actually got me the most excited of the non-combination stuff I was seeing, because a huge part of the game right now is, do I take the risk of attacking with this character on turn 1 if I'm turn 1?
Right.
And it feels like Headstrong, or at least the Brave mechanic, I'm guessing it might be elsewhere as well, seems like a way to open up that side of the game a little bit and not make it quite as binary as, if I open with RC to assassinate your character, RC's also dead next turn. It isn't quite as straightforward as that, or whenever I move with RC, if she's not going last, she's probably dead. Now there's a more built-in thing that isn't heroism that can cover her.
Exactly. And we definitely wanted to play with 2 of the new keywords with the back and forth in who is attacking and who gets to be attacked. So you saw Brave, right? And then Stealth is you must attack somebody else if you can.
Huh.
And that is its partner keyword, which is on other characters in the set.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Because I was also about to talk about Plan, which
Yep.
again like Plan and Brave both kind of felt like not quite the same, but like a version of an action card, but baked into a character. Where Plan reminds me a lot of
Datapad.
Datapad.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, and Plan helps that character. You get a little bit more control over what you're going to see when you flip. That we saw a lot of really positive feedback from Wave 1 characters that needed to hit certain combinations of pips when they were flipping. And we extended some of that with Plan, where Plan helps with that.
I was going to say Plan also opens up the notion of preloading 2 cards as opposed to 1. And so having like a baked-in ability to preload 1 slot as well, it feels like it opens up specifically shock absorbers and Cybertronium bow a lot more as well.
Yep.
It seems like it would be a lot more feasible to plan concretely for those abilities.
That one of the things I like about making trading card games is that each set is not like its own thing, right? It
Right.
exists inside context of the cards that have come before it, and from our point of view, the cards that will come after it. And so when we release a keyword like Plan, I'm really pleased that you pointed out the Cybertronium bow. Not the world's best card in isolation, but there are things that make it that in this set like Plan that help with strategies like that. And going back, one of the things I always enjoyed was going back and reevaluating old cards in light of new ones. And we are embracing that.
It's excellent. Because Cybertronium bow and shock absorbers are an example of something that I have optimism for in a young game, where if in Wave 1, certain cards are just seen as like, well, these ones are just worse. And majority of the player base might just go like, I just don't want to use that one. Another thing being some of the vanilla characters who don't have ability text. I was looking at those. I've had conversations with a couple of the local folks here about how like there's so many ways I can see in future that stuff could be. Not sure if this is the right way to put it. Be made more relevant through future cards. Like for instance, Plan to me it's making anything that requires certain flip combos feel like it's a lot less of a dice roll. If someone doesn't really feel like playing something that swingy. I guess part of this is me also poking the question tree, going like, is there anything directly relevant to the notion of a character having no ability text visible or?
So, it's funny. I'm gonna look at a game design experience from others here. There was a very brief time in Magic where a couple of cards referenced that, and to be honest, it went over kind of mixed. And my experience with kids games, the problem isn't that it doesn't work or it's not cool for older players. It's that some players just don't get the description of has no ability text. And
Yeah.
Right, because vanilla is not a game term. That's just something that we have sort of created as part of the language to describe TCGs. So I would say that that's not something we're going to do anytime soon.
Okay. I also wanted to, since it was kind of a thing, I wanted to throw in a little update on Sergeant Cup in the last couple months. I have been faced with the fellow I've been playing with the most for the last couple weeks, because he's another fellow who picked up cards before the Canadian release. He's been adamantly trying to pull off a Trucks deck, and part of that was me having to face Sergeant Cup and Ironhide, but with upgrades. And for all the smack I was talking on Sergeant Cup, that guy has beaten me up a lot when he's given a thing.
Was that game Cargo Trailer?
It wasn't even Cargo Trailer. Fellow only had one. It was stuff like Piercing Blaster, or mainly like a lot of attack stuff. Because I came to respect Cup's 3 defense when he has 3 defense. Cup and Ironhide both are characters that like I know a lot of folks on the Facebook group and whatnot kind of write off, as did I at first. But actually playing against Trucks a lot. Those guys can be very scary when they're handed a gun.
Yeah. there are fewer vanilla characters in this set than there were in Wave 1. I mean, as we talked sometime one of our previous interviews, I talked about how vanilla characters help people learn, right? They don't encumber a player with a bunch of other stuff like text.
Right.
But one of the things that they do is they get to pour a lot of their the goodness into raw stats. I believe that there is a 12-star vanilla character in this set.
Okay. I am actually excited about that because some of the larger vanilla characters, like I love Ramjet. He's quietly one of my favorite cards who isn't, a famous card. And also, like, I also look at Cup and Ironhide, and I just think about, when the day comes that some real truck love, some real specific and loud truck love shows up, Cup and Ironhide are gonna just, like, knock houses over.
Is that going to be Wave 3's sub-brand line? Truck love.
Truck love?
Oh, yes.
Listen,
hilariously.
With a pair of fuzzy dice.
Hilariously, that vanilla is a truck.
Oh, boy.
Chris is going to have to go sit in the corner quietly for a while.
Trucks are quite... Everyone who laughs at trucks, I invite them to see... Like, when you give a truck a gun, a truck becomes a lot scarier, And I am envisioning some point in the future in this game where trucks get given a very special truck-only gun, and then Cup just makes everyone...
it's called 3 cargo trailers.
Oh, no, that's the holster for the gun.
Oh, okay.
Never underestimate trucks. There's a reason why in every post-apocalyptic future that's been imagined, nobody's flying planes or hanging out on boats. It's all trucks.
Yeah, it's because someone handed all the trucks guns and then they shot all the planes.
Exactly.
In fact, the alt mode of this does in fact have the character with a gun. And someone handed this character a gun very clearly.
Oh, no! Okay, meta's changing already. Double primes, what's that? We got a truck with a gun.
We talked about trucks a lot, but you want to talk about planes for a second?
Yeah, I'm down for talking
Sure.
planes.
Can I spoil a card for you?
I'm cool with that, yeah.
So Acid Storm's in the set.
All right.
Okay.
As he is Acid Storm Toxic Terror.
Okay.
He's a 6-star plane. His alt mode, plane ranged. He's a 3 attack, 10 health, 0 defense. And when you flip to his alt mode, for each card in your opponent's scrap pile that has at least 2 red stars, 2 red pips, repair 1 damage to Acid Storm. And then his bot mode is 2, 10, 0, and enemies can't use bold.
Oh, boy, that sounds, again, like I said, I don't think... I am assuming Wave 2, it was not feasible for Wave 2 to be designed around any of the, pseudo-meta of Wave 1, but that feels like a real big answer to a chunk of the pseudo-meta of Wave 1.
Well, it's in the sense that we have a play design team whose job it is to... when we give them a set in design, and then they play it intensely, and develop the meta,
Right.
and then provide us feedback. They are game designers who specialize in determining and breaking metas.
That's like the Future League.
That it used in Magic. It used to be called the
in
Future.
Magic?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it used to be called the Future League, and now it's played. Their group is called the Play Design Group.
Okay.
And so we knew some of the meta. There are some surprises, but we knew we pretty much pegged it. And so we design based on that, right? That's the timing is such that the next set is in design process during the play design of the first, so we can affect the next and to some degree even the set after the next.
That's super exciting because I know that, like, it's starting to ebb away a bit, but, like, most of the first month that this game was out and I was reading community talk, it was all about bold, and the power of bold.
Well,
Right.
Someone who is running the Can You Get Grimlock to Bold 23 or whatever they got it up to is going to face Acid Storm, and all of those his melty weapons are going to do some tough work on the Bold deck.
Yeah, now it's like, oh man. I like the idea of there just existing answers. It's not like you're nullifying a deck. It's that you can't make that deck and just go like, I am now in the top 5% because I'm running the bold deck.
Right.
'Cause then you just get the Acid Storm player who's like, I'm here to ruin the day of the bold decks. Also 6 stars. That's good news for me and my love of the low star characters, because for planes, it's still a bit of in Wave 1, it's been a limited pool to play with.
There's definitely love for planes in the second set.
Oh, because the plane action cards, the rares and uncommons that were oriented towards planes in Wave 1 are excellent. And the thing I was kind of left hungry for was like, I want more than one or two, obvious arrangements to play around with. So okay, that is exciting.
Yeah, just having an additional 6-star plane opens up new deck types there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like Scamper and Slammer as well. Just being 4 stars of those tribals. The notion, like, guessing in my head, some of the menu of combiners that you've probably pulled from puts vehicle types in there who are probably at 5 stars that I think is going to open up a whole lot of stuff. If once people, there's going to probably be, I think, a month where everyone is just like, no, I'm going to crack the combination on combiner decks. But once things even out a bit, I think a lot of tribals are going to get super interesting.
I can confirm that there is a bunch of interesting tribal synergy that will be provided outside of combiners via the cards, the character cards. I think I was talking a little bit before about how this is a very multi-layered set. There's the obvious combiners, then there's the next obvious, which is 4 wide teams for this or that or the other thing. Then below that, there's the smaller new mechanics like the keywords. There's a couple of others that we haven't mentioned yet. This set is definitely chock full of goodness.
I was gonna say, like, for everything we're talking about, there are 70 plus battle cards that are not Enigma cards. At least doing some quick math in my head, and the battle cards have been like, the character cards are the fun part of the game as far as like cracking boosters and grabbing people I recognize, but the battle cards have been the longevity of the game for me. And there's been a couple battle card ideas I've been curious if I'd see in Wave 1. Most of them are just kind of, the sibling card to some of the ones that exist in Wave 1. One idea, and again, this is one where I'm kind of just presenting an idea, and you don't really have to spoil it if it's not on the table. There are a lot of cards for transformation or mass transformation on your team to alt mode. Does Wave 2 introduce anything that does like multi-character transformation to robot mode, or is that too hard on the game engine?
I think we should talk in a future podcast about battle cards.
Okay.
There's a lot of groovy stuff in the battle cards here. Mm-hmm. Taking one thing that you've seen and extending it. The Enigmas are not the only battle cards with green pips.
Okay. All right. Oh man, that's interesting.
Start wrapping your head around that one. There's a lot of interesting stuff that can happen there.
And
my brain just bounced through about 4 things mas rapido.
I'm not.
And,
well, also, we need Rapido in this game, but that's a completely different podcast. We got to.
The podcast of fringe characters.
I'm guessing. I'm kind of assuming that green is the new pip color for this wave.
Yes, absolutely. We're not gonna. We didn't add in like 3 new pip colors. It's 1 new pip color. That's enough for people to grok in that specific, corner of the game engine.
Yeah.
So green is something that you're going to see us explore a little bit here. Like, clearly it's on the Enigmas for the purpose of helping you achieve combination. But there are other cool things that you can do with it, and we've pushed some of those designs into the set so that you can have interesting options with the sense of I need it now being sort of like the theme behind that there. And so that was really fun for us. But we're not going to add the chartreuse pip in at the same time.
Well, the chartreuse is a Wave 3 thing. Everyone knows that because that's going to be the summer. Can't have chartreuse in March. That's not a spring color.
Right. There's you can just muddle up an area of game design too much by adding in too much in that sector at once. I think the philosophy is a lot cleaner if you say, hey, here's this new thing and here's some basic ways that you can use it. Here's a few advanced ways that you can use it. Play with that. Work that out. And then later on in the future, add in a little bit more, And that way we're keeping the right delivery rate for new stuff rather than people looking at a set and going, where should I pay my attention to?
Yeah, it's less we've shaken the meta and more like we've presented you with a basically brand new game.
Yes. Yeah,
Figure
exactly.
it out.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're gonna leave battle cards alone for the time being. Although I don't know if this is necessarily battle cards. The one other little question I got in my mind now is just speaking of no pips, blue pips, orange pips, or red pips. As far as like combinations or double pip cards, is that something that's going to be shaken up a bit? Because we've got the double orange, double blue. We've got the the dual color ones in the Matrix of Leadership and etc. And rollout.
There are double pip cards in this set. Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Any triple pips?
For Aaron? I was about to say, for Aaron, are there any triple pip cards?
I'm not going to answer that. I can. So
Okay.
wait a second. So let me put it this way. Here's how I will answer that. I imagine that at some point in the future, you will see cards that have 3 pips on them because we designed the box to hold 3 pips.
Mm-hmm. No, it was totally like a shower thought that I had the other day. It's over a week ago, and was just sitting there like, what would you even do? And had started threads a couple places, and everybody going to like, I want one of each. Anything else would be dumb. It's like, well, no, but okay. Or trying to figure out ways to have a drawback because 3 pips seems like it would be powerful if there wasn't some sort of counterbalance to it.
Speaking of battle cards, there's one thing I want to point out about Predaking. The little line, he has 5 weapon slots.
Mm-hmm.
Predaking has 5 weapon slots.
Yeah, when I was talking to Aaron, my immediate thing I was saying was, wouldn't it be funny to just put 3 grenade launchers on him and then swing in for like base 19 damage, and destroy somebody?
I have seen that happen against another combiner to pull out a very unlikely win. That was literally a play an equipment action. Play an equipment, and the person had 3 grenade launchers in their hand. And with a very low health Predaking, turned the game around against a much higher health other combiner in a very interesting, we both got to achieve combination game.
And that's the thing I'm going to be really excited to see when this launches, like in the first couple weeks, is just like the combiner fights. Because those are also certain team versus certain team fights, and it's like there's going to be layers of like how do these interact, and like I'm wondering like is anyone going to straight up be like the rock to someone's scissors, and who's going to be the paper in that equation?
We didn't really build the combiner teams that way. They all point in a little bit different directions, but there's from a game mechanic point of view, I don't see it as this team is designed to beat that team. That's not really how we did it.
Okay.
They all have pluses and minuses when fighting one another, but it's not like, we designed it so there's a 60% chance that Predaking can prey upon whoever. Although, I will say, Predaking with 3 grenade launchers is pretty spicy.
Yeah. That's some good spice. I'm actually, I had one other physical question about the combiner cards. Just looking at it again, this is a real like surface level thing. As far as foiling is concerned, what part of the combiner team member card is foiled?
The combiner side, so the inside of the card.
Okay.
So just you're looking at that image, right? The one of Predaking combined.
Mm-hmm.
So that is 5 full character cards, right? That's 5 regular size character cards in size. The side that you're looking at where Predaking his combined art, that is the foil side.
Okay. Yeah, it was something that crossed my mind when I was seeing the flip happen again. I realized, wait a second, which is getting the foiling?
Yeah.
That makes the most sense.
Yeah, the nice graphics are nice and crisp and clean, and it was hard to tell if the individual cards, like if the outsides were getting it or not. So
no, it's the combiner is the sauciest part there, so we foiled the combiner.
Yeah. I mean that only makes sense, but
Yeah, you got to work hard to see the pretty picture.
Actually, this is one other surface level question. This might be me being clever as well. So I'm not sure how this can be answered, but for the full combiner art, obviously Predaking is using an existing asset that was recently done. Of the commissions you've been doing, are any of those for a full combiner?
I'm not going to answer that question now.
Okay.
There are definitely combiner team there's definitely new art in combiners, and new art in combiner teams. Answering is it new art for the combiner would definitively answer the question for a few combiners, and I'm not gonna do that now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For example, I would have had to make art for Road Caesar, I believe.
All right, as long as
that's wave 3. We've already mentioned that.
Yeah, wave 3 in the summer with the chartreuse pips. Put it in the wiki.
This is like the clue version of let's figure. This is the clue version of let's figure out what wave 3 is, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I offered to make the art for my
until he cracks.
for my homebrew 8-card combiner, whose name is Rick, but I was declined.
All right, so yeah, this is launching in March. Is now that Canada's we're actually right on the cusp of the Canadian launch as of this recording. So is March 1 looking like it's going to be the kind of worldwide, I guess, for everywhere the game's available?
We're gonna try. Canada is running behind. So Canada packaging is running behind English worldwide packaging because it's literally the daughter product of English packaging, right? Mm-hmm. English has to happen first so it can get translated to French for the Canadian packaging. I'll have an update on that relatively soon. I expect it's going to be a little bit of a delay behind the worldwide release.
All right.
Okay.
Sorry.
So the Canadians will have the advantage of watching the rest of the world slap the combiners together for a couple weeks, and we'll be able to go like, all right.
I'll be sure to do an early unboxing and then just film it and say, look what Chris can't do.
And just send it. They just drop boxes it straight to me.
Just
it's really weird.
Drop box it straight to you. Not even put it on YouTube. Just hey Chris, look what you can't do.
Yeah, it's very odd that he went this far, but
it's gonna be super funny when you both get review copies and can't complain about anything.
I'm doing the kayfabe thing. It's like what the pro wrestlers do.
Yeah, but the best part of that was when Hacksaw Jim Duggan and the Iron Sheik got pulled over for drunk driving, and everybody figured out they were really friends.
Yeah.
Well, and then that's why they had to pull the cop into the trunk, and then convince him as part of the storyline. Well, I'm excited to see this. Aaron, do you have any other questions you want to throw down about Wave 2?
Not that we haven't bounced around or close enough. I really would like to know more about. Here's a battle card question you may be able to answer. Are there any reprints of like staple battle cards in Wave 2?
For the purpose of limited play, we put a couple in there.
Right, because I know that I saw like a topic of discussion of like, are they going to release kind of like the same effect but with a different pip, different card name, different pip?
So that's totally on the table for Transformers generally. There are some effects that you're probably going to see show up under multiple pips. Okay. There are a very, very, very small number of cards in the booster set that are reprinted from Wave 1 product, primarily for the purposes of they're pretty important for limited play.
Right.
Have you played Draft or 2-Pack Sealed yet?
I have. I played quite a few rounds of 2-Pack Sealed with various stuff. I ended up getting a Cosmos at one point in time, and against somebody with 2 lower point things, I was like, I already have the win con, and I won kind of both sets of as I was playing that without using Cosmos's cheat win con. So it was odd.
I played 2-Pack Sealed, and we both pulled Skywarp, and then one of us had a Dinobot, and then the one who didn't have a Dinobot pulled all the Dinobot cards, and then the other one had a tank, and then the one who didn't have the tank pulled all the tank cards. And it was very interesting.
That is limited play for you.
Yeah,
but it's 2 packs, right? You open up 2 more.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I'm looking forward to like I said, with the Canadian launch just about to be here. A couple friends of mine are basically picking up boxes probably on Friday in a couple days, and basically want to just do a bunch of 2-Pack Sealed instead of just cracking the packs. And I told them, yes, please do. I want to participate.
Yeah, that's how I'm. So for the Extra Life thing that I do, hopefully since this will be coming out early enough before TFCon, like if I get a box or don't tell Alfie, but probably a case of cards,
yes.
Like taking that to the Gameathon and using that, because everybody in that group really like the 2-Pack Sealed, and I got one guy convinced to like build an Insecticon deck because in the stuff he bought he was like 3/4 of the way there. And like he needed a bunch of the commons and uncommons, so I just kind of like pulled out my bulk box and helped him build a passable Insecticon deck for like not being a person that opens up multiple boxes. So that was like part of why, you know, my question about like, hey, some of those staples have got to be in there, just because, you know, with them being at the low rarities, it's a nice thing that like here I'm more than happy to just toss that box in front of somebody and say, take what you need out of that to build a deck so that we can play.
Yeah.
And
like
I'm glad that stuff is all, and it hopefully will stay all low rarity. That way it's not like, man, I'd love to help you build a nice deck, but I need these 3 and you can't have them.
Yeah, the reprint staples are all lower, are all going to stay in easy to acquire rarities. Also, we wouldn't want to take up a higher rarity slot with the reprint.
I think that kind of covers a whole lot of what we can talk about with Wave 2. Because it's going off the bullet points. There's 46 characters, 81 battle cards, 5 combiner teams. It's out in March. When you all are hearing this, it'll be sometime in January. So if you're hearing this, then spoiler season is probably about to get its gears turning. So you can keep your eyes out for that stuff. Anything over on your guys' end, Drew or John?
No, I think just stay tuned to our social channels and keep an eye out. You know, in the time period after this goes live, and between that and release, there is going to be a lot happening. We've got more announcements, more crazy, awesome stuff on top of spoiler season itself. So if you're into this game and excited about it, you're definitely going to want to keep your eyes peeled leading up to the actual launch day, because we still have our back pockets runneth over.
Why you need to get cargo pants? You get extra pockets.
Yeah, then you forget stuff's in there. You put all your cool ideas go through the wash. It's not good.
I don't know. That's a good place to store cards, like, right?
Yeah.
Until it goes
that way
in the
you're not
washing
sitting
machine.
on them and crushing them. You don't need some sort of weird hard box. You can just have something that's a decently solid soft side and completely derail the discussion.
Y'all ever pulled a soggy land card out of some freshly laundered cargo pants? That's
because I'm not an animal and I check my pockets before the pants go in the laundry.
You've never had the Kleenex blizzard from the one half piece of Kleenex you forgot to take out of your pocket that somehow multiplied in mass when introduced
Are you some
to water?
kind of hobo?
No, I'm just forgetful. Also, hobos don't have washing machines? What?
You think they can't find laundromats?
I'm questioning the validity of your canon right now. I was just going to say, also, when you're hearing this in January, TFCon in LA is happening in around the middle end part of March. So
it is.
If folks going to TFCon are also doing some TCGing, you're going to have a very fresh set of cards to TCG with.
Right.
Just putting it out there. Don't in January sit here thinking, I know how I'm going to beat everyone at TFCon, because you don't. And then
deeply wrong.
Yeah. And then a truck with a gun is going to put an end to your dreams. And then those of you who are like, well, I got bold. Well, too bad. we got evil green jets. All right. Well, thanks you guys for coming by once again. It's always fun to record these. It's always fun to throw around a little bit of chatter about the set that isn't quite out yet.
It is always a blast to be on your guys' show. You have been fantastic fans, fantastic members of the community. You do the community a great service with these podcasts and being, awesome people. So, as always, it's a pleasure to talk to you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if you guys want to hear more of these things, like obviously, make some noise in the comment sections of wherever you are hearing about this. And
we need to set up like a listener question episode.
Oh, that is a great idea.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd love to do that.
As long as we can outline a few no-go topics, like
let's not talk about the no-go topics right now.
Okay.
Because we can't talk about Wave 3 and Wave 4 yet.
That's true.
I mean, yeah, if we were to do this, I would probably just, lay out on the front, like, just to save everyone some time and have more creative questions. Like, don't just go like, so is character X in Wave 4, or is mechanic Y in 2020? Obviously you're going to want to ask things like, when if Brainstorm the character shows up and plays Brainstorm the action card, does a special win con happen, or etc. or when does Omega Supreme show up? Because obviously this game is built for a good classic character like Omega Supreme, and when are we going to be seeing that? Like, those are the kind of questions that we want to.
What's John's favorite sushi place?
Safeway.
That's relevant for Wave 3. We can't talk about that.
Right.
It's funny that you mentioned Brainstorm. John's probably going to give me a bit of sly look at this. There is a really, really, really fun and interesting interaction with the card Brainstorm in Wave 3.
Ooh. All right.
Like super surprising, not intuitive way that I really love.
Like, Brainstorm is the seed of a lot of the weirdest, most fun things I've done in this game. So that's both unsurprising, but also very exciting to me that it's still going to have that kind of relevance come Wave 3.
Yeah.
I adore Brainstorm, especially with Rare Prime. Like, when I run Rare Prime and I flip a Brainstorm and then I use Brainstorm to do 2 things out of my hand in the middle of combat, I feel like I'm a wizard.
Yeah, there's a special win condition where if you're playing against me and you play a Brainstorm and you've scotch taped it to the cover of a VHS copy of the Edward Furlong Christopher Walken classic Brainstorm, I win.
I knew I was right. I predicted this. Excellent.
It's very specific. That's the only reason I was a little mad about it.
Fun fact about John. John is a huge movie buff.
Is that what's written in the Cybertronian text on the back of the One Rules card?
Oh, spoilers. Okay. One last little closer, because we'd mentioned these new mechanics. Is there going to be like a mechanics add-on like card as like part of the backing material in the boosters, or is this all going to be on the website?
So this is going to be on the website, but one thing I can say is we have, I think we mentioned, I mentioned in the past that iteration is one of the foundation principles of Wizards and this particular project and so one of the things that we have definitely heard from the community, both in franchise fans, everybody, young folks, parents, is that we need to have printed rules materials, and drive to website is nice, but that's not always the most convenient thing for all people at all times. So a future product that will show some iteration from previous products will have a printed rules insert in it. That will be an ongoing thing for future deck products.
That's very cool. One main reason that I really like those things is that I like it when there's a new printing of rules that also like rolls in, whatever FAQ type stuff might have happened. It's kind of nice having this one little, updated piece of paper I can keep on me and not have to rely on, PDF.
Just dumping it through the wash.
I'll just, I guess we'll leave it there. I'm excited to see who the combiners are. Combiners are kind of my thing. So the seeing, like I said at the top of this, seeing that the name of Wave 2 is Rise of the Combiners filled me with glee for a number of reasons, but one of them is now my favorite Transformers thing is already happening in this card game.
Let me end it with a question for each of you.
Okay.
I will not react or give you an answer to what you say. Whatever you say.
I might.
I make no promises or warranties over what John replies. But which combiner teams are you most looking forward to?
Oh, Computron was my childhood combiner. So that's always when it's a what combiner that's like the lead, because he's got a place in my heart for, child reasons.
Got it. And you?
So my nostalgia one is Menasor, because that was some of my first Transformers. And then in the back of my mind also, it's kind of like if you guys ever slip in Lio Kaiser, teenage me, who discovered Transformers Victory on Usenet in discussion threads back in high school, thought Lio Kaiser was the coolest thing ever because I couldn't have it. So he's always occupied a special spot in my heart too.
Got it. Well, I already mentioned that Lio Kaiser's not one of the characters, so I'll give you that one.
Yeah, no worries. I'm laying the seeds, I gotta do my good work. I gotta say Omega Supreme is, a natural fit for this game, but Lio Kaiser's definitely in a clear, close third place to Omega Supreme.
Is it bad that I hope every time you say Omega Supreme, Drew just ticks a mark of number of waves until it happens? One more. One more.
Well, I mean, the Omega Supreme fan community have all come to accept that, If an Omega Supreme card were to happen with alternate artwork to show his superior little brother, then that would be fine. We'd be cool with that too. It's a community. We've got our own message board. It's a special one.
So out there now, someone is just keeping count now.
Hey, listen.
Every mention of
put
Omega
it on the wiki.
Supreme.
Omega Supreme's wiki page is a
One
lonely
more.
place, and it could use a little sprucing up with something like this, a live counter for Omega Supreme. Yeah, so thanks again for coming by
No,
and putting up with my nonsense.
It has been a pleasure, guys.
Your nonsense is my favorite nonsense.
Oh, thank you. Your nonsense is my... Hey, why would they make a card this big? Response, .gif. That's my favorite. That's still my favorite thing. So thanks for listening, everybody. And we will talk to you later. And also, we'll probably TCG at you later.
What the fuck's going on down there?